So my Monday morning began around 7 a.m. when I woke up and got ready and went down to the boulangerie on the corner right outside of our apartment to grab a baguette for my lunch. I pretty much make a baguette sandwich every day. It's the cheapest and easiest thing you can pack up and put in your bag for later. And then we headed to class. It's about a 10-minute walk, 10-minute metro, and another 10-minute walk to get to CEA CAPA from our housing, but it's through the Marais, which is one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in Paris, so no complaints at all. Our first class today was an SOS French lesson, which is something that CEA CAPA helps us with. They basically teach us what we need to know in French since none of us have a lot of French experience. It's super helpful. And then we moved on to some brief architecture lectures before having lunch. It was a rainy day, but luckily CEA gives us a nice little common area downstairs with couches and a microwave. And as you can see, we are all eating baguette sandwiches. I wasn't kidding when I said this is the cheapest and easiest thing to make. Then once the rain stopped, we had a hankering for a sweet treat and found this place, Scoop Me a Cookie, nearby CEA, and it really hit the spot. I got a warm matcha chocolate cookie. It was amazing. I recommend. Back in class, we used clay to make a site model for our site that we're working with in Paris. It was a fun way to really get to know the site. We walked home and started planning our trip to Copenhagen. It's super easy to travel around once you're here in Europe, and we get a lot of free time to do so. Tuesday started off about the same time, took out the trash, and headed to the boulangerie on the corner again to get a pain au chocolat for breakfast. Once again, super cheap, super delicious. You can't go wrong here. So yesterday we were in the classroom pretty much all day, but today was completely different. We met up about 40 minutes metro ride away at Le Corbusier's Maison La Roche. If you are familiar with architecture, you're most likely familiar with Le Corbusier, and he has a ton of works in Paris. So we started off at his foundation building in Maison La Roche and got a really nice guided tour. We've been working a lot with Le Corbusier and his idea of the modular man, so it was really cool to see his works in person, and I got to sketch them. There was a little kitty to help me out there. And then we headed to a nice little park for lunch. The great thing about Paris is there's parks everywhere. You can always duck into one to eat your baguette sandwiches. And there's also cafes everywhere, so we headed to a cafe to get a little pick-me-up before going to Plaza Trocadero, which is a great viewing spot for the Eiffel Tower. Cute little dogs everywhere. And then we had a little walk through the neighborhood until we found the Arc de Triomphe, which we actually got to go inside and on top of. There were a lot of stairs, so be prepared for that, but the view was worth it. We walked all the way down the Arc de Triomphe, took the metro home, and that was the end of our Tuesday class day. Wednesday morning, who's surprised, we went to the boulangerie. I had to grab a baguette to make my sandwich for the day, and then hopped on the metro to class, which had so many delays today. That's something you kind of have to factor in when you use public transport, but we ended up only being a couple minutes late to class, so it wasn't too bad once we transferred lines. We had another session of SOS French today, which was super helpful, and another architecture lecture before heading to Le Corbusier's Ville Savoie, which is way across town. We had to take an RER to get there, but the ride was beautiful and it was so worth seeing this building in person. If you're an architecture student, you've definitely seen this building in all of your textbooks and have heard about it for years. So it was crazy to see it and be able to sketch it in person, and it was amazing. I woke up pretty early on Thursday morning to head to the Marais so that I could write some postcards, sip on some coffee at a cafe by class, and then during class we had a little sketchbook review. We showed each other everything we've been working on. Then for lunch I headed down to a boulangerie to grab a sandwich since I didn't have time to make one. It was only €3 and super delicious. Next to CEA is the National Archives, where you can enter for free, eat your lunch in their beautiful garden. I really recommend. I mailed out some postcards before returning to class, where we all commuted to Le Corbusier's personal studio and apartments across town. This was another really awesome thing to see, just thinking about the fact that he created so much work there and lived there. We got to see his personal bedroom. That's his shower. Very, very weird. And we headed home early today because the next morning we had a 6 a.m. train to Marseille. So as you can see, every day here is completely different but so full of amazing experiences. I hope you guys enjoyed this glimpse into my life as a CEA CAPA student abroad, and I'll see you next time.